Welcome, everyone. My name is Jon Darbyshire. I'm co-founder and CEO of SmartSuite. We appreciate you joining us for today's webinar on the Pistos Compliance Tracker. This is a new type of webinar that we're having at SmartSuite, or a special kind of webinar that we have where we invite partners that have built products on top of SmartSuite to share the products and services that they offer. Pistos has been working with us for about 6 months to build a product that they'll talk about that relates to regulatory compliance and a Chief Information Security Officer as a service type of product offering. So they are, in effect, one of our first 4 white label type products that are built on top of SmartSuite. As a company, you'll start to see more and more capabilities that we're delivering to empower people to build products on top of SmartSuite, and then to brand those products specifically with your organization, not just from SmartSuite that's there. So think of SmartSuite as not just a work management platform to manage processes in your business, but we also work with partners that need to offer new products and services back to our customer base as a white label on top of SmartSuite as well. I'll briefly introduce Pete and Doug here. As I've known Pete and Doug, I hate to say the number of years, but it's probably been about 30 years ago, maybe even a little longer, that we first met. I was pretty early in my career at Price Waterhouse. Pete was a pretty influential person in the New York practice there that kind of kicked off what became known as cybersecurity as an industry that's here. Some of the who's who in the space today that have went on to build unicorn companies were trained by Pete kind of in the early days. I had the opportunity to serve next to Pete as partners in our career at Ernst & Young. And then our last company, Archer Technologies, which is now Archer IRM, had the opportunity to work with Pete again in that capacity. Pete and Doug both, and Doug I've known for that same amount of time. I'm not as close to Doug as Pete as far as all the places that we work together. Doug stuck with PwC for quite some time as a partner as well. But Pete and Doug both come with incredible backgrounds around cybersecurity, regulatory compliance, chief information security, service types of offerings that they provide. They're the who's who of people in that space. So we're very happy to have them share their knowledge with how they can help our existing SmartSuite customers understand how to be more compliant with the regulatory criteria that you may have in your particular industry, or to help you get ready for different types of regulatory audits that you need to have. So without further ado, I will turn things over to Doug Cogan, and he'll run through a little more introduction on himself, and he will run through the core offerings that they provide before Pete does a live demo.
Thanks, Jon, for the introduction. We really appreciate the partnering with SmartSuite and the ease of enablement that the SmartSuite platform provides. I'm Doug Cogan. I'm the CEO of Pistos Information Protection, or commonly referred to as Pistos IP. I'd like to start today's session by giving you a brief introduction of Pistos IP before diving into a showcase of our solution-oriented services. Pete, our CEO and co-founder, will lead that demonstration. Afterwards, we'll circle back to discuss our services in a little bit more detail. Then we'll also set some time aside for questions that you may have. So Pistos operates as a solution-oriented firm, with our solutions steering the direction of our service offerings. These solutions and services are designed to help our clients achieve and sustain compliance over the long term. We achieve efficiency in maintaining compliance and carrying out any necessary remediation using automation and AI. So you can see on the slide, data security is really the nucleus of widely accepted compliance frameworks. Therefore, we typically begin there and help you branch out to achieve your desired compliance goals.
Hey, Doug.
Yes.
Can you, I think, you need to share your slide deck, or Pete needs to share that? I'm not seeing that live here.
Pete, do you have that?
Yeah, hold on.
Thank you, Jon.
Just a moment, sorry.
All right. Excellent. Doug, you want to direct him on which slide you want to be on and keep running?
Yes, Pete, the Venn diagram would be great. Thank you. As you can see on the slide, data security is the nucleus of widely accepted compliance frameworks. Typically, we begin there and then help you branch out to achieve your desired compliance goals. Let's overview our lines of service. First, we have our compliance readiness service. And if you remember on the Venn diagram, data security and compliance intersected with the compliance frameworks and government regulation. Once we help you establish this foundation, we can expand to address compliance requirements and frameworks that impact your company needs or compliance challenges of your industry. For example, should you require assistance in either establishing or enhancing your privacy program, our team is equipped to support the creation of a comprehensive program that encompasses everything from training to reporting. We're also ready to assist with specific requirements, including, say, GDPR or even Canada's Privacy Act. As part of our compliance readiness services, we help you select appropriate compliance frameworks and prepare you to meet these compliance requirements. We evaluate your controls against regulatory requirements, recommend missing controls or strengthen weak controls to build either a cybersecurity or a compliance framework for you to follow moving forward. Next is our virtual or fractional CISO service. We can be your CISO. As part of the service, we'll help you manage your IT service provider relationship. If you're a small or mid-sized business, you probably engage an IT service provider. However, your organization may lack the expertise in overseeing the security and control elements of this partnership. That's where our extensive experience comes into play. We've spent decades collaborating with IT service providers to embed compliance at the heart of these relationships. Pete will cover more of this service in detail later in the session. So let's overview our virtual compliance program management service. Once we help you establish this foundation with our readiness service, we can expand to help manage your program to maintain compliance requirements and frameworks that impact your company needs or compliance challenges in your industry. Our fourth service is our IT security implementation services. We basically can assist you with any upgrades or any remediation that's required. So let's move on to the slide and discuss our Pistos Compliance Manager platform as a solution. So this houses all of our suite of products. And Pistos Compliance Tracker, or PCT, is our featured solution that Pete will demo here today. PCT ensures adherence to government regulations, helps you meet privacy standards, and aligns with cybersecurity frameworks. PCT goes beyond and above legacy EGRC systems in enabling compliance, in the compliance audit process. You'll see this in a demo in a few minutes. We also have complied state-level requirements. This is our solution that addresses specific state-level compliance initiatives, such as the California Privacy Act. I think at last check, there's over 25 states now that had state-level compliance requirements. That information is out on our website. Our CDFS, or Complied Department of Financial Services solution, is to address the state-level Department of Financial Services compliance requirements. This solution, combined with our service, takes you from assessment through the point where we'll file on your behalf, and then we can support any audit or compliance review activity. We're also excited about our Pistos Risk Manager and Pistos Vendor Analysis solutions. These solutions are currently under development, and you can view those on our website. So now Pete is going to walk us through PCT, and you can see the demo. Go ahead, Pete.
Hey, Pete, I think you're on mute.
The slide before you, sorry about that, is the architecture of the PTC framework. For those of you that are familiar with the EGRC process, it starts with frameworks. We're going to be demonstrating the product within the context of the ISO 27001, but we support just about every framework you could think of, and regulations as well, HIPAA, PCI, NIST for the government subcontractors, PCI for retail, HIPAA for healthcare, you name it, we support it. But for the sake of the demonstration simplicity, we'll focus on the ISO today. Within the security frameworks, we have control requirements. For example, ISO has 112 control requirements. right? We're going to look at one of those requirements and show you how we partner with SmartSuite's pretty incredible capabilities to pull off something that we were not able to pull off in the past. And we'll get into that level of detail a little bit. So we have 112 control requirements. We're going to look at one. I had just so you know, we have as side offerings all of the typical modules you would expect to see in a GRC product, policies, vendor management, awareness, training. Those are all based on the control requirements for the specific framework that we're addressing. Now, this is the important part. Control requirements link in our architecture to business critical systems. For every business critical system, we have to implement the control requirement. For instance, password management systems. We have to implement that if that's the requirement, and we need to abide by that requirement because it's in the framework, then we have to apply it at each level of the technology. And we've summed up those levels as the application itself, Salesforce, Quicken, whatever, the application server on which it resides, and also the data server in which it resides. Now, the data, we have the app server, data server in the same box, but we allow for that as well. But this is just the largest case scenario. How do we implement password management system on a business critical app, which in this case, in our fictitious company, is called company financials, right? Then we say, all right, control procedures. These are the procedures and the system security solutions that we enable to meet the control requirements related to that business critical system. So in this case, we decided that two-factor authentication and secure password management, complexity, intervals of change, stuff like that, those are the control procedures that we need to implement at each of these levels in order to achieve compliance with the 9.4.3 password management system, right? Okay, and then for the auditors, we have to show evidence. And we're going to address that very soon. I'm going to close this presentation and bring up the heart of PCT, Pistos Compliance Tracker. In a nutshell, SmartSuite turns technology neophytes like myself into developers that could create enterprise solutions. And that's quite a feat, actually. I've never developed a thing in my life. I've reviewed development systems for security matters, but never actually put together a system myself. So what SmartSuite did is it enabled us to pull together a very robust, scalable application in a very short period of time. Now, we tried other methods. It cost us a lot of money, but we failed. So what happens? Took a full year, realized we failed. What happens? What always happens to me, Pete Sfoglia, when he gets himself into trouble, there's Jon Darbyshire to the rescue. And that's exactly what happened. He helped us work with SmartSuite, gave us access to the team, and shout outs to folks, Baskin, Emma Bryan, and others. They enabled me, a seasoned cybersecurity compliance expert, to develop a full-fledged GRC solution. All right, so let's take a look at a high-level overview of how we manage clients in this environment. Start at the highest level with our solutions. Our solutions are all based on our products. The base product that we offer is the Pistos Compliance Tracker. And that does all the things you would expect an EGRC product to do. Automates compliance tracking, multiple frameworks, creates control procedures, control requirements, gathers evidence, all that stuff is here. It does third-party assessments, vulnerability analysis. It incorporates all that information and correlates it with control requirements. Typical stuff. The differentiator, I think, is how we architect the system as I described before. We go directly to every critical application that we've identified for the client and we apply control standards. It's a very laborious process, but in doing it, we don't miss a thing. We know where all the data is, and we're making sure that we protect every piece of data that is valuable to the client, either internally or for regulatory purposes, audit purposes.
Hey, Pete, could you maybe jump back over to the dashboard and click into a control standard and just help people that might not understand what that is, just what that looks like, how it's mapped back?
Sure.
And Pete, let me just maybe say one thing as you're pulling that up that's here. So those of you that see across the top of the page where it says cybersecurity policies, frameworks, standards, control procedures, and so on, those in SmartSuite are just tables, and inside of tables are a collection of fields. And then you have the ability, once you set up your table and the data that you want to collect, you can create records, and then you can display that in lots of different ways in different view types that are there. What Pete is talking about when they architected their system is they defined the tables for the data that they wanted to collect, and then you can link information from table to table, which he's going to show you here. And in this particular case in control standards, they're using a view type of a dashboard that can be a collection of different widget types, meaning charts and grids and Kanbans and metrics and things. And then each one of the elements on the page that you see in the charts, you can click and drill into that live to see the data that's supporting it behind it. Pete, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, let's look at an example of that. These are scoring mechanisms that are used by frameworks to assess compliance by control category with the control standards. We're going to drill into those in a moment. We have, I think, 12 or 13 control standards here in the ISO that we're demonstrating here. Here's all the control standards for this particular access control category. We can drill into any of these, and we could see what the actual control standard is. We have the name, the control standard, the implementation guidance, all stuff that we need in order to fully understand what the control requirement requires and how we would meet that requirement. We also, if we look at a different view of this, there's a number of different ways that we can have these control standards displayed. In this case, it's a card view, and we can go into each one of these and see some of the relevant information that we need in order to demonstrate the compliant with that control standard. This is the control standard I think that we're going to use. This is a control standard for password management.
Pete, I think we're taxing your internet service with
everything
turned on here today.
Okay. All right. So this is the control standard for password management. And essentially what it's asking us for is to ensure a couple of things: the quality of passwords, and also to use a second factor of authentication. Now this is worded very broadly to give the entity, the organization, flexibility on what products to use and how to control password complexity rules. All right, so let's bring this to life. Sorry. All right, this is the control we're looking at, right? 9.4.3 password management systems. For this client, the Protect Plus underwriters, we have a couple of control. We have a couple of mission critical applications that we need to address. One of them is called Virgil.
You'll need to unlock your iPhone first.
Sorry about that. We have Virgil and we have Salesforce, right? Virgil is a company financial system that stores information about the company's internal financials. So there's a lot of critical data that's being stored at that level. As I said before, we need to implement this password management system requirement at each of these levels.
Yep, and I think what Pete's showing you here is just very quickly how the control procedure responds back to, he's linking this and doing the analysis against different applications. And
Right.
across the top of the
Right.
system, you can see the tables at the top where we say critical business systems, critical business assets, hardware inventory. That's where you enter all the information about your particular business, and then those get linked back to the controls that need to be in place to be able to then do the analysis and show compliance that are there. So there's a lot happening on this particular page where Pete's kind of pulling everything together very quickly.
And if we collapse this, we could see, we open this up, we will see for this particular client, all of the, these two critical applications. And for these two critical applications, how do we implement password complexity rules and two-factor authentication? All right, so for Virgil, we have two control requirements, right? These are the control procedures that meet these control requirements. Enforce password complexity at these three levels, and then two-factor authentication at each level. All of this, as Jon mentioned, all of this hardware, this is data server, application server, all of this is defined in a hardware inventory. I'm not going to get into that, but this all pops up or automatically after we do the analysis of the client's environment. Okay, so we decided that we're going to use LastPass to enforce both of these control procedures. LastPass is cool because it does both password complexity. It forces users to choose complex passwords, and it also provides a second level of authentication. So there we go. We found a security solution. We have a list of literally hundreds of them here, and LastPass is just one of the solutions that are in the authentication category. So we use LastPass to implement password policy complexity at each of these levels. How do we do it? Well, here it is. Here's the process. We give it to the IT guy. We give it to our ISP, and they have the actual step-by-step process within LastPass to implement complex passwords. Now, the auditor is going to want to see evidence of this stuff, right? We have an evidence field that we've connected to this particular system and this particular component of the system. Sorry, let's use this one. This is for two-factor authentication.
Yep, so while Pete's pulling this up, let me just describe a few things that's happening in the background here. So this is what we call a record page inside of SmartSuite that includes the details for all the fields of data that you're wanting to collect. In this particular case, there's 3 different styles of pages that you can choose to how to display the information. So Pete, in this case, has chosen a 70-30 kind of split of information that's here. And then in each individual case, you can drag and drop and move the fields around on the page to actually then show display the information on the page exactly the way that you want. You also have the ability to have field permissions so that you can control access to different fields of data, whether you want people to just view it or be able to edit, or in some cases, you don't want to show the data at all. So all that's baked into what Pete is showing in the solution today, and then you have control of that as well.
Right, at the permissioning level, it's amazing what SmartSuite is able to do. Not only does it give it, as Jon mentioned, the ability to assign permissions to specific groups and individuals at the field level, but you can use those same permissions to support multiple clients on the same application. I'm not going to get into how we do that, but it's just absolutely amazing. That's why we're able to, one of our other applications, we already have 35 customers signed up, and it's all, every customer is in our dashboard. Nobody can see each other's data. We have all kinds of metrics that we use for each customer, and all of that is managed by the SmartSuite permissioning capabilities. Anyway, getting back to this, how do we evidence that two-factor authentication is enabled on this particular system? We did a screenshot of the LastPass configuration count setting, and it shows that LastPass has been enabled. We satisfied the auditors. All right, now you get those really quick. I want to actually go through one of these with you. Here's a two-factor authentication requirement. We've already implemented it here at the application server level, but we need to implement it here at the database level. So we know that this particular system called RASQL 101 sounds like a database, right? SQL Server. It's running on Windows 2022, I believe. All right. So we take all that information and we say, okay, does LastPass work on this system? Yeah, we know LastPass works on Windows-based systems. So we're going to choose that from our list. Shows up here. All right, now how do we implement this password authenticator, LastPass authenticator on this SQL Server box? We have two choices. Either we can go into our library of control procedures and find a methodology to implement that particular password management control, or we can go here and we can generate it ourselves. How to implement, this is utilizing the AI capabilities of SmartSuite. How to implement LastPass. Authenticator on Windows 20 Server 2022. All right. There's your process. It's that easy. I did this process manually so we can show you how the process works, but we can also automate this process by crafting prompts based on other fields that are stored in SmartSuite.
Yeah, Pete, let me just describe one thing as you're showing this off here. This is what we call a Smart Doc field type, which is just like a Google Doc, a Notion Doc, a Coda Doc that allows you to come in and create unstructured data that's there. And so you can use the headings and formatting and everything across the top. And Pete, can you go in, click into area and just hit your / key to bring up the menu?
Where?
Just click anywhere. Yeah, click right there is fine. And then hit your / key on the far right of your screen by on your keyboard. It should be right underneath your question mark icon. Yeah, there you go. So this brings up all the advanced options that allow you to insert emojis. You can mention people on your team and they'll be notified. You can actually link to records inside of SmartSuite in this solution or in this table or other tables. So if you need to bring in evidence, and can you just scroll down to show you can insert tables, images, attachments, you can insert dates, code blocks, you can auto have it do a table of contents. Lots of stuff here. It even has a whiteboard feature. So when you click on whiteboard, it actually allows you to have flowcharting and build flowcharting directly into the whiteboard as well that's here. So that's just full capabilities around that. Pete's using this just to help identify, collect evidence, or he's using the AI portion to ask questions. So we're integrated with ChatGPT. So if you said, I need a cybersecurity policy for XYZ, it can craft one for you as a starting point. He's asking how to do things that's there. We have a lot of customers that use this to create content all day, every day on marketing, sales type side, blog posts and social media posts, those types of things. So I just wanted you to know that it's a pretty powerful feature that's here, especially in the way that Pete's using it with the AI component.
Oh yeah, that's probably the most basic functionality, John. I'm learning every couple of days. I go and I look at the features and I see more and more features. I just got an education by what John said. And I'm saying, oh, okay, I can use this, I can use that. A very powerful product, very versatile.
Pete, we've got about 4 to 5 minutes for you to run through this last part before we jump into questions. Jump
Okay.
into questions.
Okay, good. Just some other cool things. We have security policies. After they've been approved, I sign them. Rejected, obviously, it's not going to be approved. But these are security policies that we've crafted for this particular client. And there's 25 policies, have an approval process. We also have a process whereby the end user requests a policy exception. We have control standards. Hardware inventories is interesting. This connects us to a lot of stuff. This is where we identify the hardware that the client is utilizing to house its critical systems. All right, we have laptop computers here, but the real interesting stuff is here at the database and the application server level. This particular client permission is filtering out all the other clients, but this particular client uses this database server, these two database servers, and these three app servers, and we're able to move this stuff all over the place. Really interesting stuff. The last thing is security solutions. All right, skip that. Control weaknesses. Whenever we cannot fulfill the requirements of the control procedure, SmartSuite automatically generates control weakness, and we could track all those here, pending, remediated. There's also workflow in there whereby individuals could notify the CISO that a control weakness has been remediated. CISO comes in, looks at the record, and looks at whatever information has been provided about the actions that were taken. I won't get into that. But if he's satisfied or she is satisfied, you come in, it's remediated, give me a date, and maybe we'll put a signature field in here.
One of the things I'll say is Pete is showing that off is every time that a change is made to any field in any record that you're looking at, there's an activity history that tracks the date, the time, and the person, all of the updates that were made at that time. So from a compliance perspective as well, you need to show the history of all of that. So all of that is automatically tracked at the record level. And Pete, can you just open one record? Doesn't matter what it is. And I just want to show people two things there that are used quite common across SmartSuite, but are also very applicable to the Pistos solution that's here. Just any record is fine. Yeah, just click onto one of those that's on that page, it's fine. And up in the top right-hand corner, Pete, do you see where there's the little hourglass 2 over? Yeah, right where you were. Yeah, click on that. So this is the activity history that I'm telling you about. So go ahead and click got it that's on here. So this will track the date and the time of all the changes that are actually made to the record by all the people that comes in here. And then click on the one next to that to the right, the little comment icon. No, back up next to the hour clock. Yeah, and go ahead and click got it that's here. So this allows you to have conversations about this particular record in the context of the record that's here. So I could mention Pete or someone else on the team. It will auto notify them. I could have a full dialogue of conversations. I can keep track of things that have been closed. I could turn them into tasks if I want to make it more formal. And then you also have the ability to communicate with people outside of your organization via email. So you can turn on the email feature for this. And the same thing happens. If you send somebody an email from here, it then tracks that conversation with all the replies that come back in. So you can come right back into this one record that's here. So auditors use this quite often. We use a solution like this inside of SmartSuite to do all of our own compliance for all the certifications that we have. And then we use this with our auditors as they're going through and collecting evidence and asking questions. Everything is just in the context of that. And then you have the ability to roll up all the open questions into any of your reports. So as you're just looking through a report, you could see that there's 3 open questions for this record, 2 open questions for that. And when you click on the icon with the number, it takes you right back into the record where the information is. That's it.
Yeah, we've actually used that feature, John. We have a separate product that just addresses the audits, and we communicate back and forth with the external auditors very easily. They love the feature.
Yeah,
Really does enable the audit.
Yeah, auditors get pretty happy with this because it includes the audit log that you need of all the updates, and then it tracks that for the period of time that you need to be in compliance for. So it just helps you not have to have spreadsheets and so many other places to be able to do that. And then another thing that Pete hasn't shown yet, but any of the pages that you're looking at here, there's 7 different view types that you can pick from. And Pete, can you go down to the bottom where it says in the left-hand panel where it says create new view and just click on that? Nope, not there. Yeah, go all the way down. Keep that open, go all the way down to the bottom. Yep, click on that create new view. And these are all the different view types that you can create. A view type is just you're looking at the same data. You're just deciding what type of format that you want to see that data in. And then you can add sorts and filters and things. Think of these as reports to these. So you could maybe look at only open items that you're looking for that you need to address in a grid view. But if you want to get more complex and see things that you're needing to address in timeline views and even Gantt charts with dependencies on things that you need to do or calendars, all of that is available as well. That's here. And Pete, just for the sake of time, let you jump into the questions. And I think some of the questions may help you show a few more things off. I think that Chris has asked a few questions that I want to jump on first here. So he's saying he's interested in the SmartSuite partner program. Where can I get more information on that? Basically, he's saying we have 4 different types of partner programs. You can go to our website, click on resources, and on the right-hand side, it will start to show you what those partner programs are. Chris, if you reach out to either myself or Tara, it's just John at SmartSuite or Tara at SmartSuite. We're happy to run you through those personally, what those are. The program that it sounds like you're probably most interested in is the ability to white label products on top of SmartSuite. And we'll share with you that in the future, we're also going to we're working on a SmartSuite marketplace that will allow you to have your products and services listed in the marketplace back to SmartSuite customers. And then you put your own pricing on that, and customers can click, can pay, and we manage all the payments and everything for you through the marketplace to try to keep it really easy for you and our customers to interact with each other. So, and then you're asking if I could showcase SmartSuite building a few workflow solutions. We don't have time for that right now. That's on here. I'm happy to do just a live demo for you today or tomorrow, but we can also point you to a couple of videos right after this webinar that you can see that live as well. But you can also, if you're in SmartSuite, click on this icon in the bottom right-hand corner that you see in the bottom of it's in the blue here that has the little red icon. Yeah, that gives you access to all the information that we have available and also talking with a member of our team in real time. That's there. So if you click on messages and want to ask us a question, one of our onboarding specialists can jump on that and help you get things answered very quickly as well. Pete, one of the first questions that popped up was, can you provide a little bit of information on how you provide this services back to your customers, what size they are, and maybe provide some pricing information to give people an idea of your CISO-as-a-Service and this entire solution that you would provide back to someone. Or Doug, either one of you.
Yeah, I've got it here. Here's our solutions. I'll bring up some other fields here. If you want to see pricing.
Looks like you have pricing set up on the subscription plans on the next table.
Yeah, it starts with the compliance tracker. Subscription is pretty reasonable, 15 to 20,000 a year, depending on the number of integration solutions where we grab the evidence. Then we start building services onto this product, and as we go down this list, they become more and more intrusive to the organization until we reach the CISO services where we're actually running the entire organization. So if you just want that,
can you talk a little bit about the size of companies that you're focusing working with?
Yeah, well, we have the range here. Most of the companies that we're working with now are in the SMB market. A lot of them are in insurance. A big market right now for us type of customer are government subcontractors they make widgets for the government. They're not IT people, so they have to comply with the NIST standard. So they're just pulling their hair out trying to figure out how to do that. We help them. We take over the entire process. We go through the audits, the assessments. But again, the small and medium-sized businesses.
Or let me help you out there a little bit, Pete. But I think for the kind of the SMBs that you're working with for the first service offering that most of them would need, it's about $1,500 a month is your package for kind of starting around 15 grand a year. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. That's everything that Pete has shown you here today. And I think, Pete, there's a question. The next question is, can you please show what the customer sees as the compliance work is completed? Can the customer provide this to auditors? And I think, is that the dashboard?
Yeah.
I guess the customer can see everything as the work is being done, but you have a number of different views and dashboards set up to show them the work that's happening in real time. And then they can also set up notifications as certain things happen. They can be auto notified if you would like to do that.
Yeah, this dashboard is widely utilized by management and auditors to see what kind of where the soft spots are. It's coming. Okay. Yeah, these are all, if you enlarge this is very useful. By control category, we could see the total number of control standards for this particular control category, and we can see the number that have not been started, the number that's in process, which is 0, and the numbers that have been approved. Out of these total, the total number of control standards for operation security, 14 of them, we've completed 13. Now, if we wanted to see the ones that haven't been started, we click here, and there it is. One has not been started. In this case here,
Pete, let me ask you this question. Is this all standard reporting, or can customers have personalized reporting as well if they would want that?
Yeah. Anywhere you want to see the data. I haven't come across a scenario yet where the customer request, we weren't able to meet the customer's request.
Okay. And then Pete, if somebody is interested to learn more, how can they get in touch with you and the team to ask questions? On
our website, there's a contact us section. We're also going to make available the PowerPoint presentation that we started with. It has Doug's information and my information on there. Get to us anytime. Okay. So I think later today, we will send out an email to all the attendees and people that registered that will include a link back to the recording in case you want to see that, as well as a link to the presentation that Pete is discussing. And then we'll make sure we make it easy for you in case you have questions to reach out to them. I would suggest that if you do have an interest, reach out, get a personal demo based on your exact needs and maybe the controls or the frameworks that you need to be in compliance with that's there. I'll say that what Pete and team have built is something that all of us that have been in the cybersecurity industry for 20 or 30 years are very used to seeing and working with every day. It can be somewhat complex to people that are first digesting this, but Pete's done a good job of trying to break this up in a way to help you understand how to get started, how to understand the frameworks you need to be in compliance with, how to map those back to the control standards that need to be in place, the procedures, and then do an inventory of your systems, your assets, your hardware, that everything needs to connect to, and then get to work with actually collecting the evidence to show if you're in compliance. And then there was a question, Pete, here that also is, can you use this information to pass on to your auditors? And we answered that, but the answer is absolutely. That's what this is all about. And it's pretty typical that auditors then get access to this or a subset of this information. You can also create, which is quite common, custom views that you share just with the auditors, and they don't even have to be members inside of your instance of Pistos. We have a share feature that allows you to share, just like you would share a Google Sheet, a Google Doc with somebody, with just the information that you want to share with the auditor that's there if you don't want to give a full access. So you can do either or in that case. Yeah, just one thing to follow up on the question on how we engage our clients. If you have a security function in-house, all you're going to need is the software itself. But if you just want a readiness assessment and you don't have the internal resources to do that, we could do a readiness assessment based upon the PTC system and HIPAA or whatever source you're beholden to. We go to the next step and implement those, and then we can become the findings and recommendations, or we can become your CISO. And so as we go down here, we're servicing clients that have less and less of security abilities internally. We just give you the software. If you want us to run the thing, we'll do that, and everything in between. Thank you, Pete. I think we're coming to an end of the questions, unless if anybody wants to throw anything into the question and answer here real quick. Just looking through the chat, make sure I didn't miss something here as well.
I'll answer one question that comes up on a lot of webinars, which is the ability to integrate with third-party products, and that capability is available a number of different ways. We have about 15 native integrations that are in the product through what we call automation, so that you can automate routine work that needs to happen. But we also have integrations with Zapier, Make, Relay, Ply, which are third-party connectors that connect to some 6,000 other products out in the wild. So if you need to connect for any reason and integrate with other systems, more than likely, we've got you covered there. The pricing for integration of those connectors that I just talked about starts at around $20 per month, to give you an idea. So it's pretty economical if you need to pass information to another system that you already have as the work's being done. And with that, Pete, Doug, any closing thoughts before we wrap things up here?
Yeah, just in connection with what you were saying about the auditors having access to the environment, we can utilize the SmartSuite permissions to narrow down what the auditor sees. Obviously, you only want to give the auditor what they ask for. And it's very effective in getting very granular with respect to what they can see. The other thing is, there is, in the pricing structure, you get a couple of guest IDs for every ID that you pay for in SmartSuite. So giving an auditor a guest ID, which is read-only, is free. So there's a lot of ways to facilitate. Not only does it facilitate the audit, but it facilitates the pocketbook.
Yeah, John, I would just add as well, just to clarify, in some of our services, we do provide the time and service to interface with the compliance or audit group that you may be facing, depending on what framework you're being challenged on.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll just reiterate what I said at the beginning, and that Doug and Pete have been partners in big X firms that have been the auditors and have done this for 30 plus years that's here. So they know how to speak to your auditors. They understand when things are really a problem and where some gray areas are, maybe how to get around the gray areas on things that you need to do or be able to show compliance to that's there. So great resources. So I encourage you to reach out to them if you are thinking about or needing to have regulatory compliance inside of your organization. With that, for the sake of time, I just want to say thank you for everybody attending. Again, we will get a recording back out, copy of the presentation, and contact information for Pete and Doug. If you have questions for the SmartSuite team, most of you know how to reach out to us. With that, I thank everyone for the time. Have a great day.